As mentioned in other videos, I have heard the interview of Grandmaster Kolovic that he said he took 3 months of his life to study about 200 of Capablanca games, and when he finished that period, his level of game was totally changed, also for understanding. Of course, Grandmaster Kolovic is a professional, so I don't know if it really makes a difference for us club players. However, I have gathered a lot of books about Capablanca. In this one there are like 58 games. Cyrus Lakdawala is a famous author, is a professional, is a Grandmaster level understanding, so I will also use the games from his books to better understand Capablanca and improve my understanding of the game. Okay, so we start with game number 1. Game number 1 is Capablanca on the attack in chapter 1, and is one of the game of a match against this Corzo I Principe that was a famous player in Cuba. Corzo is white, Capablanca is black. This is the 8th match game played in Havana 1901, when Fidel Castro wasn't alive. Corzo, our hero, early rival, later went on to become one of Capablanca's biggest fans, even writing a regular column in What Else, the Capablanca magazine. Wow, I didn't know that there was a Capablanca magazine. Okay, e4, e5, knight c3, knight c6. Okay, today the Vienna game is more commonly made by 2 knight f6. Yeah, in fact I thought, when I played this, I thought this would have been the game, because this is the Vienna game, but clearly in that time, 1901, maybe they have a different move order. Okay, let's see what happens. And here he plays f4. This f4, I don't know. He takes f4, knight f3, g5. Okay, this is King's Gambit. And here in fact he asks a question, still a Vienna? And the answer is the game transposed to a line of a King's Gambit. Yeah, line with knight f3, by the way. We choose our openings as a way of reflecting our natures. The King's Gambit and Colle player are 2 different people. Colle is obviously an opening on d4, which is played e3, so this is blocked. Is a totally different opening, but it's kind of interesting. So, how does this game continue? With h4. And of course g4, because you gain space and you oblige this to move, right? And he says, what 12-year-old isn't delighted to enter the violent Ampe Algayer Gambit on either side? And the question is, isn't it an unsound gambit? The answer is relax and allow Corzo his fun. I believe it was H. Hale Mencken who defined Puritanism as a fear that someone, somewhere, was having a good time. A century ago, the line was exceedingly dangerous to black. Today, the computers have proven you correct and ruin white's fun with powerful defensive schemes favoring black. The problem is in fact that the computers have changed some openings. However, the computer have also reinterpreted some openings and give a different evaluation, and so they are played now and before they were considered bad, right? Okay. So what do you think white plays? White played knight g5. Because there was this knight on c6. Otherwise, maybe knight e5. So here there is a question, a blunder. White's knight is trap. Yeah, in fact it looks like trap, right? And the answer is the knight is on a suicide mission, a deliberate piece sack for the initiative and the attack. So black continue with h6, and white plays knight takes f7, king takes f7, and d4. Of course, you would think bishop c4 is the move, but it is not, because there is d5, okay? And you say, but why d5 that you lose a pawn? Yes, that's true, but it doesn't matter, because otherwise you're not using the pieces, and if you don't use the pieces, white is gonna win, right? So after bishop takes d5, at least you have opened this, and this is protected. And now you can play this. And you couldn't play it before, because otherwise this was unprotected, right? So let's see how it continues, just to have an idea. d4, bishop d6, bishop takes c6, and b takes c6, e5, bishop b4, bishop takes f4. Now we see that the pawns given to black are all falling back, so it's not very important. Bishop e6, queen d3, knight e7. And here it says, when black achieved a light square blockade and stood clearly better. And this is from a game called between Welling against Michalewski in Gibraltar in 2008. So in 2008 they were still using the King's Gambit. That's kind of interesting. Especially Michalewski, that is a top level, right? Michalewski is a grandmaster, so it's kind of interesting. Okay, let's return to the position where we were. Okay, more or less we were in this position. At this point, after knight takes f7, king takes f7, white played d4. We just saw what happens on bishop c4. So after d4, black plays d5, and here it says a pawn is a tiny investment if he gets rapid development in exchange. But in reality, of course, this is going down and this is going down, and thanks to opening this diagonal, this at least is protected, because as you can see, the problem is that this king is in the middle of the board, and the position is kind of quite airy, right? There is a lot of wind around that king. So after d5, e takes d5. And here Lakdawala says bishop takes f4 looks better than Corto's choice. But even here, whiteys are pressed to prove he gets full compensation for the piece. Yeah, because this is still here. If he would have a castle, maybe yes, there was an attack. But yeah, he takes d5. Let's see what happened after. And there is queen e7 check, and the king f2. Luckily there is this, otherwise queen e3 would finish this king, right? Because imagine, without this is checkmate. So now that you know this, you know what? That you want to remove the defender of the square e3 if you can. Maybe you can't. So but it's an idea. Sometimes it's important to have some ideas. It seems that this was an improvement, this king f2, because previously played bishop e2 and it wasn't really good. This bishop e2 gave a winning position in the 6th game of a match, so this is an improvement. But in reality probably also Capablanca has another improvement, which is g3. And after that move there is king g1. I think I already saw this game, or maybe I even taught it to some students, because at this point white is really going bad. Cioè, just imagine, at this point white is playing without a rook. Why? Because where does this rook go? Here? Here? No, I don't think so, right? So you are out of the game with this rook, and that's really, really bad. Okay? So if you were black, how would you continue now? What would you play? Right? Try to pause the video and think a minute, couple of minutes, and decide what you would play as black. Black played knight takes d4. This brilliant return sack takes firm control over the initiative. Okay, now as white or as black, for example, you need to calculate some lines. For example, what happens if white takes on f4? What happens if white takes on d4? And so that's what will make you good at chess, calculation, right? Because if you don't calculate, it's not gonna work. Yes, you should have intuition, but also intuition has some limits, right? In the game was played queen takes d4. And again, you understand, this king is really pathetic, we could say. Because if you remove this and you can give check, then next move is checkmate. So black played queen c5. White tries to keep the queen, because obviously if he takes, the game is over, right? Checkmate. Okay, so you cannot take, obviously, and like I told you, there is a problem, right? There is a problem on the squares. So after queen c5 he plays knight e2, and now pause the video again and try to find Capablanca's move. What would you play if you were black? What would you play now? He played queen b6, because obviously he wants to play this and the game is over, right? So that's funny. Queen takes b6, a takes b6, obviously you take with a pawn toward the center and you also open the file, right? Knight d4, bishop c5, and obviously now there is a c3. Yeah. Sorry, sometimes I don't care to comment as if maybe there is a note, because for me the moves are logical, okay? At this point there is a fight for this d4, because again, you must understand, if this doesn't go away, this king can be really checkmated. So here there is a huge problem. There is a huge problem. So after c3, pause the video and try to find what is Capablanca next move. As you can see, it can be a good exercise because you are trying to play a guess the move, right? So what would you play as black? And Capablanca played rook a4. Obviously a magnificent move, because after rook takes d4, c takes d4, bishop takes d4, bishop e3, bishop takes e3, checkmate. So at this point, obviously, Corzo understands that he needs to gain some air with his king, right? And of course he plays this. Now, for those who thought, but why didn't play this? Well, try to think what you would play as black. If you were black now, pause again and decide what is your next move. The next move would be obviously boom. Why? Because if you take, the game is over, right? So again, it's a kind of tricky. The situation is better to give space to the king. Let's see if there is a note. No, he doesn't speak about here. I think he played it here because he wants to keep control of this diagonal and this square. That's probably the reason. Okay. But after bishop e2, what would you play if you were black? And Capablanca played bishop takes d4. After which c takes d4, rook takes d4. And now what did white play? White played b3, a beautiful move. Why? Because it's threatening bishop b2, and as you can see, it goes up to here, right? Perfect. So after b3, obviously knight f6, bishop b2, but now, boom, Capablanca is able to get the 7th rank or 2nd rank for white. 7th or 2nd is what in Nintsovich, my system, it tells you that it's an advantage, right? Because once you have a rook there, you are threatening always something, and it's a problem. So after rook d2, he played bishop h5, and again, obviously you must remember that there is that rook there, but what would you play if you were black? Okay, here it says white fires a bullet into the wall to test the forensic of a position. The move is also a diversionary tactic designed to try and throw off the young Kappa. Okay, the exchange sack give black a crushing attack, so black plays knight takes h5, after which there is bishop takes h8 and f3. Fantastic move. Fantastic move because move away this, so the knight can enter into the game. Yeah. In fact, it says clearance, a powerful early display of Kappa Nimble's feel for where his pieces should go. f4 is ripe for occupancy. Okay, g takes f3, knight f4, and bishop e5, skewering, right? What does black play now? What do you think black played at this point? Try to pause the video and decide. Black played rook g2, after which there was king f1, rook f2, king e1, and of course now there is the final blow, which is knight d3. After which Corzo resigned. Why did Corzo resign? Because after king d1 there is g2, rook g1, and of course knight takes e5 leaves white completely undefendable, right? Because this will go down. It's a terrible position for white. It's over. But now there is a question that I want to tell you. because in the unknown Capablanca, that is this book that I probably show you in another video, okay, the unknown Capablanca. Well, in this book, you know, it's mentioned how much time Capablanca used for this game. Try to guess how much it is. Well, it seems that for the entire game, that is 26 moves, Capablanca used only 5 minutes. 5 minutes for the entire game. Clearly, his brain was very, very fast. I hope you enjoyed this game by Capablanca. I will show you some more in the next videos.